Hey there, friends. I am so excited to give you some updates on the anthology through this new series or sub-series, the Anthology Diaries, where I'm going to be kind of taking you behind the scenes of what it looks like to be in the daily life of a 20-something author. And I'm going to take you behind the scenes, not only on the writing process, but also some of the daily life things, some projects that are going on in my life that sometimes I don't post about or don't post about as often. And yeah, so if you would like to just be able to come with me and kind of feel like you're across the table at a coffee shop, or not even that, feel like you are in my kitchen and I am just chatting about everything that's going on, then definitely tune into today's episode because you will absolutely love it.
Hey friend, do you love the smell of books? Maybe you absolutely delight in the sound of a pen gliding across a page as you write. Hi, my name is Shira Rodriguez, and I am a Jesus follower, a writer, entrepreneur, and lover of all things boho and books. In this podcast, I want to take you on a journey of discovering yourself, discovering God and your passions, and how to make your life beautiful and so full that it overflows into the lives of others. And over here, we are not about compartmentalizing life. Oh no. Over here, we talk about holistically taking your life and presenting it as a place where others can be blessed just by knowing you. Are you excited? I am. So snag your favorite mug of tea or a pen and paper and let's jump in. Because you're listening to Her Reading Life podcast.
Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Anthology Diaries, a sub-series of Her Reading Life podcast where I'll be sharing my whole process of getting a short story ready for publication in an anthology, and I'll be taking you behind the scenes of basically what I'm doing, editing wise, just what's going on in my life, what it looks like. I just want to kind of invite you to take a peek, a daily life kind of glimpse into my life as an author, because I know that I would have absolutely loved to have had something like that. You'll probably see a lot more quotes, stuff, aesthetic videos and things like that, maybe even snippets of this podcast, and hopefully more podcast episodes just with candid conversations, just talking about the editing process and the writing process and everything, because I know that I would have loved for someone to kind of give me a deep dive into what it looks like to publish a book, what it looks like to edit a book, what it looks like to follow this writing process, especially as I was someone who decided not to go to college. Actually, I was watching this morning a video from Brett Cooper. I love watching her videos. They always keep me up to date. It's a lot more encouraging than watching the news, to be honest. And it keeps me aware of trends and things like that because I'm an old-fashioned girl. So usually I'm not up to date. It's my sisters and YouTube that keep me up to date. Otherwise, I would absolutely be a Victorian and I would be talking like one too. But I was actually listening to a video today on YouTube talking about how so many schools have actually been closing. Universities have been closing. About one a week is the average now. And it's wild to see this. Like, I knew that I had chosen a different path, and I knew that so many friends had been going to college. I don't necessarily say don't go to college. That's not what I'm saying. If you have a passion for something and you can find education in college, by all means go. But for me personally, as a writer, I looked through so many college programs. I remember I was going to one in particular. I was looking into it in my senior year, and I even got on a Zoom call with the professor who was incredible, one of the sweetest people ever. I would have loved to be in that class. Well, except for the fact that when he actually brought me to the class, he was so enthusiastic. He was so excited. He was like, "Oh, you know what? I'm just about to start a class. Would you like to take a quick peek into the class?" And he moved the computer, so we were actually there watching the class. But everyone just seemed so dead. I guess I was the most enthusiastic person there, and I wasn't a student. And after that experience, I was like, I don't know that I actually want to go to a place where I will feel like I'm carrying the entire weight of everyone's enthusiasm and passion. I don't want to be the person who's dragging all this up. And emotionally, that would be so draining for me. That's why I decided not to go to that college, and I looked up more programs, but none of the programs actually gave me what I wanted to receive, what I wanted to get out of the program. I even went to some other programs that I know that several friends have actually gone to, but it just wasn't a good fit. I even applied to like 2 different programs. They were more than happy to take me, but as I looked deeper into the program with my dad, we thought, well, no, this is not really the route that we feel that we're being led to go to. So, being the typical homeschool student, we decided to create something for ourselves, and that is pretty much what I've been doing. So just working on my novel, and when this opportunity for the anthology came up, doing the short story, it was just such a blessing to be able to hop on to that. I sincerely did not expect to get accepted, because it was an old short story from high school that I pretty much cleaned up, refurbished, upcycled. I don't know how you want to say it, but I just took that story and recycled it. And speaking of that story, actually I was waiting for my edits for the story, and I am so excited because I already got my edits. I think a week or 2 ago I got my edits, and I've been waiting to be able to share this with you guys. At the beginning, before submitting my story, I'll be honest, I was a little anxious about how much I would have to change for the story. And I knew I was going to have to be willing to change a couple things, but I didn't realize, I didn't know what to expect. So on, I think a week ago or 2, I opened my inbox and I saw that they had sent in the edits. Kellen, actually, because Kellen edits our things first. And I was terrified, but then I opened the email, and basically what the email said was that she didn't see anything in particular that needed any huge changes and edits, like on a large scale. So all she did was correct some of the spelling and grammar, and then I was pretty much good to go. I was so relieved and happy. One, because it was way less work than I had to do, but also just shocked and surprised, because that had been one concern for me before. I was like, I don't know how much I'll have to like change this and edit it and things like that afterwards. And I'll be honest, I had been a little bit afraid that maybe they would ask me to change certain things to adapt to other stories. For example, like if there were some major plot things that they required me to change in order to fit in with the theme of everybody else's story, I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Or like feel like I was forced. Really, the issue was that I didn't want to feel like I was forced to change because of they're requiring me to change, even if I didn't want to, that I would be forced to do so. Mostly it was during the contract stage where I was just worrying about that, and I decided just to do it anyway. But yeah, so it was a huge, that's my phone. That was a huge surprise and relief to be able to see that happen, and I can't tell you how excited I was and thrilled that it was acceptable. And I have to be completely honest here. I have a little confession to make. I owe so much of the state of the draft that I now have to my sister, because I think it was the Friday before the day I had to submit, I had my sister read the draft for me, marking down parts that were not going to be in the story, the parts that needed to get edited out, the words that needed to be changed. She did a whole surgery on that thing, God bless her. And she did such a wonderful job that Kellen didn't have to do really much editing at all. Now, I'm super excited to hear what my critique partner in the team, because we're assigned to critique partners to actually critique our work on big picture things if necessary, as well as beta readers, because I'm also going to have beta readers read this. I'm so excited to see what their thoughts are, if there's anything to change big picture wise. That should be super interesting. I'm kind of like half glad and half terrified, but in a good way, a really, really good way. I can't wait to hear what their thoughts about it. But yeah, I was so surprised. So now what I have to do is work on editing that down, pretty much just accepting the suggestions, because there really wasn't much besides spelling and grammar that I had to fix. So that is what I'm going to be working on this week. I guess, no, next week, something like that. Because this week I'm on break. Or that's what I've been trying to tell myself. Actually, I've been catching up with my non-Instagram things, which include creating a blurb for the official blurb for my story. Because I always, for some reason, go overboard, I ended up creating a short blurb as well as a long blurb. And the long blurb is actually going to be for the title and story reveal, which is going to be very likely happening on June 18th. I might have the date wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's June 18th. And I am so excited for that.
Hey there, lovely listeners. I have the most fantastic opportunity to share with you today. How would you like to join the street team for Novelists in November short story collection, featuring my very own short story, which you'll be the first to discover the title and story blurb if you join. This enchanting anthology is launching this November, and I'd be absolutely delighted to have you join us. Picture this: dark academia vibes, cozy sweaters, rain pattering on your window, and all your favorite bookish feels with a mug of hot tea or pumpkin latte. That's the essence of this collection. By joining our street team, you'll get exclusive behind-the-scenes info, early access to the cover, sneak peeks of the stories, first dibs on pre-orders, and some very special gifts I'm personally designing just for you. And the best part? There are no requirements. It's super flexible to fit your schedule. We're planning an exciting cover reveal in June and story and title reveal earlier in the month. Plus, you'll get an early ebook copy of the anthology and see our book cover before anyone else. So, if you would love to be part of this cozy autumnal adventure, click the link in the show notes and join the rest of our bookish friends on the street team, or visit bio.site/ShiraJRodriguez. That's bio.site/ShiraJRodriguez. Thank you so much for your incredible support and enthusiasm. I'm truly grateful for you, and I can't wait to see you on the team. Hey there, listeners. Before we dive back into today's episode, I want to take a quick moment to talk about something really important. Reviews are the lifeblood of any podcast. They not only let us know what you're loving about the show, but also help others discover the beauty of living, giving, and repeating. So if you're enjoying the content we're putting out, here's a small favor I'd love to ask. Could you take just a minute or two to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform? Whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platform you listen on, your reviews make a world of difference. By leaving a review, you're not just sharing your thoughts with us, but you're also helping us climb the charts and reach more listeners who might benefit from our discussions. Plus, it's a wonderful way to show your support for the content you love. So friends, if you're finding value, inspiration, or even just a good laugh in any of these episodes, please consider dropping a review. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to us. And hey, if you want to go the extra mile, share the podcast with your friends, family, or anyone you think would benefit from these conversations. Together, we can create a community of listeners who are engaged, inspired, and ready to take on the world.
All right, that's enough from me. Let's get back to the show. Thanks for being the wonderful, lovely, incredible listeners you are. And as always, enjoy the episode. So I have the short blurb, which is going to be part of the media kit, which is basically just the kit that we have for promoting, so that way we can just copy paste into Canva designs or website things, Amazon, whatever we need. All that information is going to be in that document, as well as my short author bio. I pasted that in to the media kit as well. I'm trying to think what else we worked on. Oh yeah, just critique partners and yeah, pretty much just getting that work done. The author bio, prepping some promotional things. Something else I also have to work on is the pre-orders, because I'm still working on that. And to be honest, okay, I'll spill it. I'm trying to work on creating an exclusive Spotify playlist for for my own short story for the pre-order. So if you pre-order, you will get that Spotify playlist. Hopefully, I still have to make it, as well as a recipe that actually has to do with something in the story. Actually, the recipe inspired an element in the story because I'd been making it so often recently, and people had loved the recipe so much that it was just on my mind, so I just added it into the story. So you'll be getting those things in the pre-order, and I am possibly thinking of doing an audiobook version of the short story for the pre-orders. So we'll see how that goes. And I might have another additional thing, but I'm not going to spill the beans because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it, but hopefully I should be able to. And all these are pre-order goodies that are going to be going into the pre-order package. So among other things, which some of the other authors are also creating on their own. So it should be so much fun and so exciting. But yeah, that's pretty much on the anthology side. That's what I've been working on, connecting with other writers, which has been amazing. Also, okay, I meant to tell you guys this as well. So I feel like I should devote a whole episode to this, but long story short, some time ago, I actually met up with the amazing, wonderful, and so sweet owner of Writer's Block Bookstore, which is in Winter Park. Well, they have two locations. They have one in Winter Park and in Winter Garden in Florida. And she is so sweet, so amazing. It was a dream come true to be able to meet her. And in one of my meetings with her, I mentioned that there really wasn't a writer community that I'd been able to find in my area. And so the owner said, hey, if you're willing to help host a writer's group, I'd love to have a writer's group at the bookstore. And instantly, as soon as she said that, I was like, I would totally love that. That sounds incredible. And so about a month and a half later, I got contacted to help host the writing group at the bookstore. And I think it was about a month ago that we had our first meeting. It was incredible. So amazing. So many writers came out to just hang out together and meet other writers. It was absolutely incredible. I didn't know how many people there were because we had about 61 people sign up. 62 actually. Yeah, 62 people sign up, get tickets to go. It was free, but we had tickets just to kind of be able to get a head count and an idea of who was going to be showing up. But I knew that it was a lot of people because the room got so hot we were all sweating. It was that many people in a small bookstore space. But I didn't know until this week when we had our second meeting that first meeting had pretty much drawn about 50 people, 50 writers, which is mind-boggling. I had no idea that it would resonate so much with people, that people would have such a hunger to find community, especially in the writing community, to just feel like they belonged to something, and that their writing wasn't just out and into the void. It was to something beautiful and to a community, and that brought meaning and joy into each other's lives. It was truly so beautiful to be able to see that. And this week we had our second meeting, which was incredible. There were less people, but I actually kind of liked it better because we had time to be able to share thoughts and have conversations with each other. And it felt truly like a book club vibe, but all about writing. So we talked about character-driven stories versus plot-driven stories. And it was so intriguing to see how some people were drawn to character-driven stories or plot-driven stories, or the way that some people even thought, oh, no, I think every story needs to be plot-driven, or other people saying, oh, I think every story is at the heart of it, it's character-driven. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's both. You need to have a blend of both. It's really not an either or. It's truly a continuum. Plot-based stories are going to be on one end of the spectrum, while character-based stories are going to be on the other end. And while certain genres have certain tendencies, it's truly not a yes or no question. It's not a fill in the, like a bubble kind of thing where you can only select one. It's truly a continuum where you have stories that are more plot-driven, but that have character development and have some character drive to them, and others that are going to be more character driven, but they still have the plot, because you need the plot in order to reveal the character. Or with the plot, it's if you don't have the character, it's a meaningless series of events that doesn't matter. It's just a whole bunch of catastrophes or a whole bunch of gunfights, a lot of violence or things like that just happens one on top of the other and means nothing if you don't have character woven throughout. But yeah, so it was so incredible to be able to hang out with these incredible writers in this beautiful area. Winter Park is just so beautiful. But yeah, I just thought I would kind of give you guys a little bit of a glimpse into that. And truly, I feel so blessed to have been able to participate in these groups, in the anthology. Truly, God has been so good. And I'm saying, just in case you're tempted to wish that you were in my shoes, and I'm not saying this because I think that I'm super fortunate or whatever, but because I know that if I were listening on the other end of this in a really hard season of my life, I would be like, why is this so easy for the other person on the other side? And I would just tell you, listen, before this, it was such a hard season. I had a really stony season. Last year was tough with a capital T, and I remember that even until recently, there were times where I would sit in my chair right here near my desk and I would cry because I was so lonely. I was so abysmally lonely. While not going to college has its advantages in the sense that you're able to get a head start on writing a novel, you're able to not have to go into debt for student loans and things like that, there is still a huge factor of loneliness and feeling like you are doing something completely different from everybody else, and that you're fighting against the stream. You feel like giving up so often. And truly, if it weren't for my parents and my family, I would have given up so long ago. And so you do make incredible progress. Taking a route like the one that I have chosen, you do make incredible, wonderful progress. but it does have its costs. You will have times where you are just aching to give up. You will have times where it is so hard to keep going and you just want to cry into your pillow and lie in bed for the rest of the day. I mean, added to that, I had a whole, last year, I had my whole struggle with my eyes where I wasn't even able to write properly. And thank God I'm doing so much better. But what I'm trying to say is that all of this doesn't come for free. And if you're going through a difficult time right now, let me encourage you by saying that I think that you're about to come out onto a better place. I think God's preparing your heart to be able to receive joy. I know I said this in, I don't remember which interview, but I love this quote by Alexander Dumas from I actually have the book right here, from The Count of Monte Cristo, where he says that people cannot experience the greatest joy until they have experienced the greatest pain. They cannot experience the greatest epiphanies of their life, the greatest swells of emotion, of beauty, of joy, until they've felt despair, until they've tasted despair. And I remember the first time I read that, I was talking with my tutor and she brought that up, and I remember that she was saying, that's a really good quote. It's true. And I remember that while I had been reading it previously, I had been struck by it, but struck by the strangeness of it. I didn't think it was true. I was like, oh, I mean, I think you can also have happiness without feeling despair. And I kind of just nodded to what she was saying, but it stuck with me. It truly did. And I think I was in my second year of high school or something like that when I first read that, and it has stuck with me to this day. And it has informed everything that I write. So whenever my characters go through a lot of pain, I always try to give them something joyful that counterbalances. And if they go through something joyful, I also try to counterbalance with some kind of grief. I know it sounds cruel. It sounds really, really cruel. But I think that stories that don't offer a clear and honest view of grief before or after or during joy aren't stories that quite depict life the way that it is. Because I think despair, and maybe not even despair, but sadness, grief, all create wells in us that joy can fill in. And the deeper your well, the more you can experience joy. And again, maybe this is a controversial idea. I feel like I talked about a lot of controversial things here today, but it's so true that so many of our stories today fall flat because we don't allow ourselves to be honest and real, and yes, sometimes a little bit gritty, to the truth, to the reality, to the shape of life, which is often not what we want it to be. But then, is life ever truly what we want it to be? But then we look back and we think, oh, that was a good story. And I truly think that God, as the master creator, as the master storyteller, loves to create true stories. And though it may feel like a lot of pain at the beginning, ultimately it's quite good. It's very good, and it's beautiful, and it's finality, and its final product, in its finished state. And so that was pretty much my thoughts for today. I know that I covered way more than just the anthology, but hopefully I haven't been rambling too long for you. And thank you so much for being here with me. I hope that you enjoyed this peek into my life, into what's been happening recently. And I don't know, a little philosophizing as well. I love you all, and until next time, continue to live, give, and repeat. And I'll see you next week, or this Thursday, I guess. Have an incredible day. Love you guys.
Yay! You did it! I'm giving you a lovely big virtual hug because you just finished another episode of Her Reading Life podcast. If you'd like to access all the wonderful links I mentioned in this episode, visit my website at bio.site/ShiraJRodriguez. That's bio.site/ShiraJRodriguez. There you can access my blog posts, resources, and so much more. Also, check out my Instagram page for more inspirational content. And join my email list for insider secrets and exclusive updates on special events. The links are in the description box below. Also, if you could take a minute and leave a review for this podcast, that would be amazing. We're able to reach so many more people because of your reviews and ratings. I can't wait to chat with you next time, friends. Keep living, giving, and repeating.